Hi, this is Jeff, Two Brother Sports, doing our third week of handicapping predictions with my brother out in Louisiana, the
How
Walker,
you
Denham
doing?
Springs area. Doing pretty good, Bradley. So we want to just jump on and go over a few of our picks. We're going to go over five, and we had a few other. It's kind of a coin toss which one we wanted to choose at the end. But the five we've chosen for the week is starting out with Tampa Bay versus the Denver Broncos, and we're really liking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -6.5 in that one.
Yeah, I
Mainly,
like them.
yeah, and mainly because of Baker Mayfield with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer. He's got and he did really well last week running. His passes are really accurate. He's hungry this year. You can tell he really wants to win. And he was able to come out of Detroit with a win against a pretty good defense. And he got sacked 5 times, so that's pretty impressive. So I really like him against Denver. I think that it's just really obvious that Bo Nix is still a question mark on our mind versus someone like Baker Mayfield right now, anyway. And so, anything you want to add
Sure.
to that? Yeah,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Let's remember one thing for sure is that Baker Mayfield at every level, whether it be high school, college, the
yeah,
guy the guy's been on he transferred from one school. He was on fifth on the depth chart. He made it to number one, nearly won the national championship. He's done this his whole life. The guy plays with a chip on his shoulder. That I mean,
he does,
and
and he's in everybody's mind. He plays well as an underdog, and really, the league always has kind of categorized him like I don't know, kind of. They did the same thing with Derek Carr. That's why we feel the way we do about him too. And look at how he's performed this year. So it's kind of like the same thing. It's kind of neat that they're in the same division because I'm really looking forward to the Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Carr, and all that kind of. And now we're going to throw to our next game, which is Andy Dalton for the Panthers. But we just don't think it's enough to get quite done against the Raiders this week, Bradley.
yeah, Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton. He played down here in New Orleans, close to where I live here in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's been floating around. He's had some opportunities in Dallas when Dak Prescott went hurt. He's not the same guy anymore, and that's why he's
And
not a starter anymore.
and
And I
because
think
he's yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
and you
I
think
I, I also think that the Raiders, and I'm biased because me and my brother are diehard Raider fans, but the Raiders got something to prove too. They were showed no love by anybody, and
yeah,
take
that's
just
true.
take a look at especially their defense, how they're flying around
Right,
the
I
ball.
agree, and they really haven't been able to, and they put something together like that with Ravens. I know that after listening to the team this week and Coach Pierce, that they're really dedicated to proving one thing against Carolina at home, not because it's Carolina, but they do want to. They're going to be handing the ball off to White, and they're going to try to give him about 20 to 25 carries to see if he can get in a rhythm because they know and realize. And the other thing is they know that they haven't been able to put together 4 good quarters. They put together good quarters, but they haven't been able to put 4 good ones together. They're really confident from the things that they were able to do over there with the Ravens this week against Lamar, because that's just a really tough task for anybody. And I think you're going to see that at home. And I think they're gonna definitely cover the -5 against the Panthers. And probably the number one reason is because when you match up that defense, we're still looking at the Panthers being ranked number 32 defense. That's just, Andy Dalton doesn't have a whole lot of help over there either. So, and he's older. He doesn't have as much firepower. So, anyway, our prediction: Raiders -5. And moving right on, we're going to a Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which should be a good one. But we're still leaning towards Buffalo Bills -5 for a lot of different reasons. Bradley, do you have anything that you want to add, or what do you think about that game in
Well,
particular?
like you were speaking earlier in the week, the no-name defense. There's a lot of guys in the first 2 weeks that are flying around again. There's an energy on that team. They were disrespected
Yeah,
also, and
right.
uh, and they got that stud over there, number 17. He's just a big old boy who can carry a team on his back. But
Yeah, I know it's almost up. Like we were seeing, like what's the Tyson Hill for for over there at the Saints all those years. He's just like a fullback, a quarterback, and he's a good quarterback too. The other thing I like about it is the weight they have up in front, just the sheer force of those two tight ends. Knox and Kincaid, they're like having super receivers out there, and it's really hard to contain that. And then he has a good body with Mac Hollins and Curtis Samuel and all that, and their ability. It's really hard to stop. And the Jacksonville Jaguars got to go up there on a Monday night at home with that Buffalo crowd totally fired up. And James Cook is no slouch as a running back either. He's good at both. He can run and catch. So Trevor Lawrence to put the whole team on his shoulders Monday night in Buffalo, I still like the 5. I know it's a lot. I know that the Jaguars are showing some signs of an ability to win games and everything, but against Buffalo that night,
I'm not sold on them at all.
I'm not thinking so yet. Okay. So we also have another game coming up that's kind of similar in terms of, what people think is a good matchup because of what the Atlanta Falcons have been doing the last 2 weeks. But to face Kansas City after a loss like that and poor performance by Mahomes, I don't see Mahomes coming in and do that again. He doesn't usually have a bad game like that, personal bad game, and not come back with a vengeance the following week, just historically throughout his whole career. So I'm looking for a little fire from him.
And he still come out with the win. That's just who he is. So,
and -3 is not much, not for Mahomes, because he really doesn't need a running game. Although, we were talking about that. My brother was actually talking about that. He's the one that does a lot of the injury reports and stuff like that. So he was talking about Isaiah Pacheco being out, but he really likes the running back. He thinks the guy can get it done. What's your guy over there, Brad? Again, over at
I don't even know what blonde. I don't know what that.
Okay, well, he performed this week. He looked really good, and he's a solid
sunshine number 2. I don't know, bro.
We'll just call him that for now. But so we like that game. We're going to take the -3. We'll call him Brett. We got a lot of nicknames. Well, we can't remember the name. We'll come up with a nickname for him. I can guarantee.
Yeah. We'll find a nickname. My brother will. But I want to open up game number 5 with the New Orleans Saints in Philadelphia.
Take that one away, Brad. I'll let him run the whole show here.
New Orleans. Kubiak comes from that Shanahan tree. And Carr and him had a really nice connection. It's only year 1, really only the beginning of year 1. And they were just killing each other since back in March when they picked up Kubiak. And again, it's from that Shanahan tree. The schemes he's writing up, they're using a jumbo set also with 2 tight ends, which has been given him a whole lot of time. And there's been a couple young players that have stepped up. They got some young talent that really hadn't been well known outside of Olave. And I won't be long winded. I'll let my brother pick it up in the Falcons.
No, you're good. I agree. I agree with my brother 100%. And he said it earlier when we were talking about the other games. That Carr is another one, like Baker. Maybe like these guys have something to prove because although I don't, forgive my French, but the shit talking that they've had to endure, both of those guys, and they're not the kind of guys to sit down. When you look at Carr's statistics, percentage wise, his completions, his accuracy, and it's not just short passes that he throws. Like a lot of guys that get those percentages a year, that guy levels the playing field. He throws them long, and he's opened up that game for Kamara. And Kamara, my prediction early on in the year is that you're going to see a back that's like 1,500 yards this season between receiving and running yards. I almost have zero doubt that that's the kind of performance you're going to get out of him with Carr opening up the field like that.
Let me add one more thing.
Looking forward to his tight end, Taysom Hill, as a tight end is a whole other story as well.
And let me also add something that comes to mind that I read statistically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have scored on the first 15 series of the year. 15.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. And even though it's the Eagles, and then people would think, wow, that's really a bold prediction.
But over the last 2 games, 11 touchdowns versus 3 touchdowns last year.
Right.
355 yards versus 200 rushing.
Yeah.
I could go on, dude.
minus 2.5 at home in front of that New Orleans crowd. That's a really hard place to play. I mean, New Orleans, they're always pretty good at home. But with a team like this playing and performing the way are this year, I definitely give a -2.5 doesn't seem significant enough, even against the Eagles. And mainly it's because of AJ Brown. That's why we got taken last week. We took the Eagles, but AJ Brown didn't announce his injury until Friday because we discussed it. We probably would not have taken that game -6. It would have been we would have moved on
You betcha.
and we would have and we would have. And I'm not one to make up excuses, but I'm pretty sure if I knew AJ Brown 1,500 yards back to
You
back years,
betcha. No excuses
I
on
would have
this
done
show.
it. So, and then we had a few. It was like we were talking about it earlier in the show. It was a coin toss. But there were three other games that we really liked. Bradley,
Worth mentions. Yeah, we're not going to break it down or any commentary, but go ahead,
right?
Jeff.
Okay, we liked Arizona at home +3 against the Lions. I think it was one we kind of really like the Niners going in with the Rams being decimated at defense and covering the 6 points there. And then we really like and almost considered our fifth pick, which was Minnesota. And I think they're +2.5 against Houston at home. And they get Jefferson back. And they look pretty good against the Niners. So we're going to stick with that. I think this is a wrap. We're looking forward to this season. We're looking forward to this week. And yeah, so everybody like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next week. All right, Bradley,
Adios.
take it easy out there. Love you,
All
bro.
right, you too.
Peace.